I'm delighted to say that His Excellency, the Executive Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, the Governor of Kebbi State and Chairman All Progressives Governors Forum, is joining us today. Welcome to the Horizon interview.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Today serves as a huge novelty, again for your state, with the federal government program on artisanal mining initiative. First gold bars presented by the artisanal miners to Mr. President. You want to tell us more about this?
Thanks again. The Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative is a program of the federal government which was initiated by the Solid Minerals Development Fund, which is competently run by Fatima Shankafi, and the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development. And it was approved by President Buhari last year, and a steering committee was set up, chaired by the Chief of Staff to Mr. President, then late Abakari of blessed memory, and today Professor Ibrahim Gambari, who has been very, very active in the last few weeks in order to see today come into fruition. The steering committee includes myself as the Vice Chairman, Governor of Osun State, Governor of Central Bank, Minister of Finance, Ministers of Solid Minerals, and the SSA to the President, and the Executive Secretary of the Solid Minerals Development Fund as the Secretary of the committee. And the aim of the initiative is to look at all the states where artisanal mining is taking place, particularly gold in this respect, and organize those miners who are largely doing it in small way, harmful to their health and to the environment, and in many places generating insecurity, because some of them are not operating in areas where they are licensed to operate, and it invites the activities of criminals. So President Muhammadu Buhari graciously approved this initiative, which now formalize them. They will be registered in the different states where they are, and recognized and supported and properly kitted and properly equipped, so that they can generate more value in a healthy, secure, and environmentally friendly manner. And then above all, uptake will be provided by Central Bank of Nigeria, which stands ready to uptake all the gold.
And the state guarantees...
and the states are entitled to organize, like we did in Kebbi. We organized the artisanal miners. We formed them into a company because we want them to be rich. We want one day we want it to be floated in a stock exchange.
Particularly when the mining is alluvial in nature, that is not probably more than a knee deep before you hit the gold and the rest, unlike in South Africa, for example, where you really have to dig deep, several feet down. Am I right?
Yes, most of Nigeria's oil-bearing soil is alluvial, and there's a lot of prospects to start from there before the harder to reach deposits. So the event of today demonstrated how easy it is and how much promise it holds for our country, that today a gold bar weighing 12.5 kilograms of gold was presented to Mr. President and was purchased by the Central Bank for close to 300 million naira. So we aim to see millions of those bars produced across the different states of Nigeria.
Absolutely. It is indeed worth that. When you look at an ounce of gold on the spot market, is almost 10, 20 or 30 times, about 50 times even higher than a barrel of oil in Nigeria. Okay. Let's talk more about the artisanal mining, because you talk of the issue of insecurity just like what we had in your neighboring state, Zamfara, where illegal miners, dominated the place until Mr. President said, enough is enough, and they cleared all these people. But foreigners who invaded the place, have you been able to manage the issue of security in Kebbi State with these, large deposits of gold?
Yes, we have also been exposed to the activities of illegal miners, some from neighboring countries, some from beyond. The Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti, when he was the Minister of Mines and Solid Minerals Development, we visited, and the Minister of State, Alhaji Abuba Obari, we visited a mining site in Kebbi, and we met 38 Chinese who have been there for 3 months, and they were not illegally.
They came into the country illegally, and they're mining such, huge precious
and for such
resource.
a long time. So it becomes an all-comers affair, and understandably, where economic activity involves valuables that can be put in pockets and small transportation vessels, one can easily imagine that will generate criminality, and that will generate protection rackets, or rackets that will fight each other. So it was commendable when Mr. President recognized this as a security issue and issued the solid ban, and it has helped in reducing the number of non-Nigerian actors. But even some of Nigerian actors, like I said earlier, are doing so illegally, and because they are doing so illegally, there's bound to be criminality. And the initiative is now saying, well, folks, this is an important business. We recognize the value of it to find work for our people, but let us do it safely. So because the federal government has supported investment in the provision of security, so that these artisanal miners can operate safely. And it's happening in Kebbi. Communities are more vigilant that, look, let's do this properly, so that
because of the economic benefits that will snowball in all areas.
Because we have registered more than 10,000 artisanal miners. And this is not in all the local governments, in the few local governments that registration has taken place. So one can see the potential that we are potentially talking about millions of Nigerians across the country being employed in this industry.
In fact, Your Excellency, I wanted to talk about that, because when you look at the gold mining plates of Nigeria coming from Oyo, Osun State into Ondo, Edo, Kogi, then you move down, the troughs, maybe the Benue troughs to Kebbi, Taraba, to Gombe, yes, and the rest. You are the vice chairman of this initiative committee, as you've said. How is government planning to develop other mining sites? Like Kebbi seems to be a novelty.
What the government did was, I said last year, it started, 2 states, Kebbi and Osun, were approved as the pioneer states. And now we have proof concepts. So it makes it very easy to replicate across all the other states. And I'm sure the Solid Minerals Development Fund FAGMI scheme will be replicated across all the states with the cooperation of state governments, because it involves state government taking active interest in organizing the artisanal miners. In Kebbi, we incorporated a company, No Waste Artisanal Mining, and we made them owners of this company, and the company will be responsible for relationship with the buying centers, so that it will uptake all the gold and deliver to FAGMI for processing and delivery to Central Bank of Nigeria. So the concept has been proven now, and I believe there will be explosion of activity across all the gold producing states.
So in Kebbi alone, you talked about having close to 1 million or more than 1 million artisanal miners
not
right
Kebbi.
now.
No, I said we are registered over 10,000.
10,000 for now.
I can see us going up to 50,000, 60,000.
Okay.
But across Nigeria, we are talking millions.
Okay. Yes, because of the deposit across the states and the rest. Let's go back to your state and look at the deposit quantity. You're talking of millions of tons here, not something that is going to start today and in another 10 years it's run dry.
We have extensive deposits that artisanal industry have been taking in maybe in the last 30, 40 years. But this is the first time we have gotten a structure that is saying, let's recognize this, let's appreciate the potential of this and invest in it. And I'm glad that everyone is keen in the president's directive is very clear. Central Bank of Nigeria is supporting it. The Ministry of Solid Minerals Development is doing splendid well. And I said the chairman of the steering committee, who is currently the chief of staff of Mr. President, has been doing a fantastic job of ensuring that all the steering committee, Minister of Finance, Central Bank Governor, and everyone is pushing hard to ensure that within this year we'll be talking tons.
Millions of tons, yeah.
Tons, certainly.
Or it could be some hundreds of tons first.
Yeah, first. And then going bigger.
To thousands of tons. At least something that is really going to generate the much needed foreign reserves and diversify the economy greatly. But let me ask you, before I take some of the concerns you raised in a speech here, is the issue about this initiative, for example. How much are you looking at that gold, one, could contribute to the nation's economy in another 1 year? Because I'm sure you must have made some mathematical projections about that based on the deposits you have. And two, what are some of the other value chains or off-takers in this same business? Are you putting such issues together to side by side with the exploration and exploitation of gold?
A lot of data that has been generated by companies that purchase gold from elsewhere seems to suggest that Nigerian gold in the major buying centers, Dubai, is in the range of $2 to $3 billion per annum, and that is smuggled. So we believe that with the organization of the industry, we are talking about billions of US dollar worth of gold for the country. And it's not difficult to imagine because many states are in this. And what we have seen from exploratory works and even the historical data about the activities of artisanal miners seems to give confidence that that is indeed a fairly optimistic scenario. And mining activity generates other activities and generate interest in other minerals that we have that hitherto maybe we have not been paying attention to. And so this is like maybe the low-hanging fruit. And the fact that it's happening in the midst of the COVID pandemic shows the potential, because otherwise it will have been affected by all the restrictions that the pandemic has closed. But because this is an industry that potentially Nigeria is very, very competitive, and our young men and women are able to participate.
And they are really ready to go, because here it says that one of the major objectives, of the Artisanal Miner Development Initiative by government is to solve the issue of disaggregation through establishment of the cooperatives that you talked about and improve productivity through capacity building. some economists to be worried, government foray into business is not the business of government to be in business, rather set up the cooperatives like this that you've
This
set
is
up.
not government.
Yeah.
The FAGMI is to encourage artisanal miners, help them to organize into cooperatives, incorporate into companies so that they generate more value.
Which they run themselves, so no government interference here.
Support.
The central bank supports them.
Facilitates. Government, central bank will uptake occasionally if there is need for loans to support, like it is extending loan to other sectors to support them with equipment, with health, with protective clothing, and so on.
Okay, that's very brilliant. In just 2 minutes before we take our first commercial break, I would want you again to look at, where you said you'd urge the beneficiaries, like you did today when Mr. President, got the novelty gold bar. You said about what in weight of about 12.5 kilograms. I mean, that's so unique. But what this says to the big miners out there, to really drive the gold mining industry to such a global commercial height, is that this would be excluding the big miners in the world.
It's not at all. Those who have gold mining licenses are free to go and do their business. I'm sure they will continue to be licensed. But
so you're going to have them side by side?
President Muhammadu Buhari and the initiative recognize that there are many young people out there who are saying, please cut me in. And we should cut them in because they are willing to do it. They are also producers. They are also entrepreneurs. And this is a nation that is promoting everyone to be busy with something. So it's a win-win situation. It's not exclusive. It's not the only means of gold production in Nigeria. The big people, the big companies, they are well capitalized. They don't need the support with organization. They don't even need support with uptake. They have established market and they do, but this requires support, this requires security.
Absolutely. The rice revolution in Kebbi State is the rice revolution that has come to be known as the Lake Rice, the joint venture between Kebbi State and Lagos State. You want to expatiate more on that?
Thank you. I think that's modest because we also benefited from the vision of President Muhammadu Buhari in let's generate value in the domestic economy. And we have always been believers in the capacity of the Nigerian economy to do well in many areas that our potential is still way below what it is, rice being one of them. Kebbi State is 36,000 square kilometers, slightly above, a little bit above, and we have water bodies that gives us the advantage of producing rice. But we are not the only one. Maybe all Nigerian states have the capability of producing rice, and including FCT. Biologically, rice is a grass, so it literally grows everywhere. But what we appreciated is that our farmers in many crops, not only rice, have been farming in a hereditary manner that is occupational, not consistent with the science of
today.
And agriculture is basically science. And so what we did was to appreciate the need to use the mechanisms that are in place. Ankoboro was program which provided financing by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the tidier policy environment which supports local production to invest in training of farmers, providing them better seeds.
Your Excellency, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, would be back again with you to interrogate more on the socio-economic development of not just Kebbi State and the mineral resources available to make Nigeria a great nation. You're still watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead. Stay with us. All right. I still have with me His Excellency Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State. I think we should talk some politics now, because we know politics and economics, they go side by side. How has it really been, being the chairman of the APC's Governors Forum and the brickbat that followed in the last 1 month does not seem to be cooling down. Only yesterday at the National Assembly, where the Senate committee is screening ambassadorial nominees, your party member, Senators, lambasted a candidate, an APC member, who was asked to reel out his achievements. The kind of thoughts one will have there is that the wounds are not healing at all. They are not drying up.
I don't think so, because first, I think we have to acknowledge that our constitution imposed partisanship. The constitution requires us to belong to a political party before we can seek public office. We don't have, as of yet, independent candidature.
Shouldn't we be thinking about that?
Well, maybe that's another debate.
In 21st century Nigeria.
Maybe that's another debate, and there are many politicians much more popular than I'm sure, that will feel if there's independent
to run as an independent candidate.
They will be happy.
And maybe you might even want to run in 2023.
I'm not so sure, but
as an independent presidential candidate.
I don't think I'm that popular, but for now, Constitution requires me to be a member of a political party and sponsored by that political party. So that I'm in government, still the responsibilities and obligation to the political party that sponsored me is put upon my neck by our constitution. Therefore, I have to attend party meetings. Mr. President has to attend party meetings. Mr. President quite often go to the party secretariat to attend party meetings. Nobody reads partisanship in that. So we are all bound by this constitutionally imposed obligation to belong to political parties. And it will rear its head somewhere. Do we have a crisis in the party? Certainly no. We have challenges like every human organization, and the challenge has been anticipated by the drafters of the Constitution to the extent that it provides a mechanism that can resolve a situation where members of the National Working Committee maybe are in court. There are many court processes that make it almost impossible to take a decision without it violating one court process or the other. And that's what APC did, and that is a very, very successful innovation and use of party constitution to resolve a problem. And since that was done, all party members have queued up behind the decision and supported Mr. President, and we are all hailing the decision, and we believe we are on our way to those issues that we should be facing.
Well, they seem to still be rearing their ugly heads. Only yesterday at the Federal High Court in Abuja, a party member is asking that Pastor Yamu be stopped as the party's governorship candidate because the national chairman of the party and the national secretary never signed the paper, the letter to INEC. What do you say about that? And what do you say about the crisis in the APC in Ondo State too?
We say the National Executive Council resolution of the party that we held on 25th June in a virtual manner clearly resolved that all party members should withdraw cases they have in court, because our constitution have conflict resolution mechanisms, and even courts have been fairly hard on people who do not exhaust conflict resolution mechanisms that are provided within the constitutions of parties or associations they belong to. So it's consistent with the law of the land to say that. And I am yet to hear of a party member, genuine APC member, who is willing to go against this directive of the National Executive Committee of the party.
When you find such, you're going to expel the person?
Well, the party has provisions for that, and I don't think we will spare the rod in enforcing the Constitution to ensure that people who otherwise do not mean well for the party are dragging court cases endlessly, which could be resolved within the provisions that our Constitution provides for.
Well, this thing is that incumbency, the power of incumbency, is always a yardstick to quickly say somebody is most likely going to be re-elected for a second term again. Do you, as the All Progressives Governors Forum chairman, regret the loss of Governor Obaseki to the opposition PDP?
Of course, I mean, we will have loved him to have stayed in our party, to contest under our party.
Why couldn't you save him? Why couldn't the governors come together?
Governors in APC, everyone has his role. We are governors of states. We don't. We are governors of states first, and we are members of the political party. We don't own or control the decision-making process in the party alone. Our wish can run counter to the wishes of others, and much as we will have loved something to happen in a particular way, we do not run the party. And if the people who run the party take decision as party people, we were obliged to follow.
Yeah, you're obliged to follow taking such decisions. Okay, let's go to Ondo State. Aren't you worried about what your colleague, you've lost another colleague, the deputy governor to Akeredolu in Ondo State, to the opposition party again? Quite a number of government officials have resigned. He still has his sympathizers in the State House of Assembly. And the surreptitiousness of wanting to impeach the deputy governor. Have you reached out to Akeredolu for some kind of reconciliation and, level-headedness, if I must say?
Sometimes these things are not unusual when ambition creeps in. We have similar situation in Sokoto State, where the then deputy governor was keen to contest the governorship in opposition to the governor he was running the state with, and he left and contested against the governor in another party. So this is not unusual when some people cannot tame their interest. And some crisis, and all politics is local. I can't speak for my colleague in Ondo State, but what is happening is not the first time, and it's not unusual. We wish there was no such situation, and we wish there are less number of aspirants. But some political culture in some places differ. In some states, you always have a big number of aspirants, and we have faced it before. We have had elections in Kogi about 4 years ago, whether we are, I think, close to 21 aspirants. We had it in Bayelsa, we had it in Rivers. So it's not absolutely new. And in Ondo, you can see that both major parties have almost the same number of aspirants. So the party is working very hard. We have a reconciliation committee ably chaired by Governor of Niger State, His Excellency Abubakar Bello, and we believe he's up to the task.
To at least wield the party together again. Now, what kind of framework would you, as a governor, chairman of the Governors Forum, be putting in the upcoming convention? It's going to be latest by November. That you'll be suggesting One, is there going to be a constitutional amendment, particularly when we saw the kind of process that removed the erstwhile chairman of the party, Adams Oshiomhole? Your sympathies for him on that?
Well, I don't think we need a constitutional amendment because our constitution is clear. That is why we are able to do what we did. The party was able to do what it did. And, we put a caretaker committee in place to consult with all stakeholders, and they have been doing a fair amount of work. They have been all over the place. The chairman, God bless him, His Excellency Mai Malabuni of Yobe, assisted by 2 other colleagues of ours, and to that we are very, very grateful to Mr. President for deeming it fit to include 3 able and capable governors into the committee, and among other esteemed men and women who are members of the party, and they have been working very, very hard to collect opinions and to, I'm sure at some point, discuss this so that they can come up with what is best for the party. So we are not there yet. The governors, very important segment, but it's just one constituency for the committee to listen to. A very important one, of course.
Okay, Adams Oshiomhole must have come and gone. He's written his name as a one-time national chairman of the All Progressives Congress. What kind of empathy do you have for him? Did he achieve some of the set goals of the party? Some accused him that because of him, you lost states like Zamfara, Bayelsa, XYZ, because of the lack of internal democracy in the APC.
I think it's unfair for me to sit in judgment about Adams Aliyu Oshiomhole, our former national chairman of the APC. APC had Oyekun and Adams Oshiomhole as 2 chairmen with contrasting personalities. And as it is in life, everyone who is leading will have done something well, and in doing something well, maybe you have sacrificed doing the other things, and so. But the challenge was that there were multiplicity of court actions that were impairing our party to make decisions, and the National Executive Council resolved not out of condemnation of any particular person, but to do what is needful to ensure that the party do not continue to be impaired from taking decisions that are for the interest of the party.
How does it feel when you look at the APC riding on the crest of its anti-corruption campaign, and you find government officials in and out, whether from the NDDC to one agency of government or the other, being labeled or alleged to have embezzled, misappropriated, misapplied funds and the rest? Does it not worry you as, an executive member of the APC? And how, I don't know if you've been able to gauge Mr. President's mind on this.
I thought what Nigerians should even be appreciative of is that nobody is above board. And these transparency issues are long-term. You hear stories in the most industrialized countries of the world around government officials. What I think is very, very noteworthy is that nobody is being spared. It doesn't matter what institution one is. It doesn't matter his party affiliation. And such lights are being beamed in institutions, and investigative agencies are allowed to do their roles. Investigative hearings are taking place in the National Assembly, in the House of both the Senate and House of Representatives. Investigation officers are investigative agencies are investigating various senior government officials, and that's a first.
Tell me, Your Excellency, that you're not worried about some views by the public that Mr. President is somewhat slow in taking action on some of these issues of corruption.
Because again, he is worried. He have always given the contrast that as a military head of state, he came and he signed decrees and he said lock them up until they can prove
Their
innocent.
innocence.
Today, as a president, civilian president, he is bound by the laws of the land. Investigative processes, people can go to court and get injunctions, and people are being released by the courts. What can he do? So he appreciates that he can either go carefully, meticulously, to gather the evidence so that he can get a conviction, or he can rush it, as he has always said. After he was removed from office, regrettably then, most of the people he arrested were released, and maybe even their properties were returned to them.
So, okay, very good distinction there from Mr. President. I remember when he said so that, look, my actions as a military head of state will be totally different, of course, as a Democrat. But again, when you look at the development indices in the country generally now, you rule a state, yes, your party is at the helm of affairs and the rest. How satisfied are you, with the issue? Definitely you can be satisfied with the issue of the rising unemployment as reeled out by the National Bureau of Statistics, not by me. That's a government agency. It is quite worrisome.
Well, we have to appreciate the challenges that we have been faced with as a nation. As a student of economics, we have always been amazed at how little resources Nigeria have had. The highest Nigeria have ever had was in 2014, when oil prices were $147 to a barrel. But even that year, the federal budget was about 30 billion. The budget of the 36 states is again similar, in the same range. So 70 billion budget, and this is not budget performance. The performance is much, much lower than, less than 50% for a country of 200 million people. In that year, the Brazilian budget is close to 600 billion US dollars, with budget performance of about 90%. So if we are trying to compare ourselves with a country of similar population, we can see how much gap. And yet, President Buhari faced a worse situation, collapse in oil prices. For example, in 2016, which was my first full year in office, Kebbi State got from all sources 32 billion naira, which at 360 exchange rate was about $92 million. In 2014, my predecessor got about 47 billion, which using the then exchange rate is about $480 million. So from $480 million, we are down to $91 million, which is less than a quarter. So we can see how dramatic the drop in prices in revenue had been. But in the same 2015, when President Buhari took over, 27 states cannot pay salaries, and this is even with $140 oil revenue. But yet he supported all the states to restore the payment of salaries. He brought initiatives like anchor borrowers. He refunded close to 700 billion naira that states have spent in doing federal roads, so that they can be mobilized to do again. He's doing railway, he's doing second Niger bridge. We have the social investment programs that over close to 6 million children are being fed. we have N-Power programs, we have cash transfers. These programs might not be attractive to others out there who thinks it should be for them. But this is hitting the main street because people at the lowest end of the income strata are being included. And just today, I'm coming from an award program, virtual award program of medium, small, and
small-scale
enterprises, which is the 3rd edition, because of the value that is given to let's build small-scale enterprises. And it's catching up. For me in Kebbi, we have seen small-scale enterprises coming up by the day.
Your Excellency, you're probably just one of the few governors who are truly looking inward and being creative, particularly with the pandemic now. Because the aggregation by Nigerians is that all the governors they just come to the federal government, the feeding bottle, and collect allocation and go back to their state.
I think that's not fair. I mean, we might have different approaches, but I believe that the ultimate goal of any elected person is to make people happy. We might differ in the way we do it. We might have different priorities. And one can have different results because of what he pursues. Because many people are confronted with different challenges. Some you are elected, public servants want you to maintain their salary structure, want you to build houses for them, buy cars for them, and there's nothing wrong. And then there are a bigger lot there who also want economic opportunities. So it's a trade-off. Which one do you do?
It's a huge trade-off indeed. And I must say that Kebbi, seems to be a shining light in empowering youth and being creative. Particularly, let's go back to the rice in 2 minutes, while we round up this program. It's just rice that we see. We're not seeing wheat, we're not seeing sorghum, we're not seeing other grains and the rest. Doesn't Kebbi have the capability?
They are all there. Rice, President Buhari 4 years ago created a presidential task force on rice and wheat, which is a bigger challenge because the trade distortions affect wheat more. It affects rice, but Mr. President stood his ground that, look, we can produce what we eat. And let's do it. And I'm not going to lift
a ban on the importation of wheat.
On rice. Wheat is a tougher one because more countries are involved with it, stronger countries, and that's why we are again very proud that Mr. President has nominated Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and we hope she will become the Director General of the World Trade Organization so that she can help us fix international trade, and Nigeria will do better.
Okay, so, very quickly.
And we'll sell more rice to the international market.
Right. But let's very quickly look at how will gold, develop more income from non-oil exports and foreign reserves.
Oh, certainly. It's a very creative opportunity because the central bank is going to buy this gold in naira, which is a first, because if central bank, absent this program, if the central bank wants to acquire gold, it has to trade it up with dollars.
Thank you very much. Very good place for you to have landed. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, is also the chairman of All Progressive Governors Forum. Thanks for coming on the Arise interview.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me, Christian Ogda, and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thanks for watching.